One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, in the darkness bind them. 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the dark lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. 1 ring to rule them all, 1 ring to find them, 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie.
This is the 3rd video of the Veranda Orthodox Tolkien timeline of the Second Age of Middle-earth, with events from Professor J.R.R. Tolkien's The Fall of Numenor, published in 2022. The 3rd period summary of the Second Age is one of utter desecration of the Eldar's realms of Eriador and the dwarf realm of Moria by the hand of Sauron. The lieutenant of Morgoth was superior to the Eldar and dwarfs in all the arts of strategy and war during this period. Even Keleborn and Galadriel's realm of Lothlorien could do little to oppose his tactical advances. Sauron's relentless onslaught across Middle-earth was a masterstroke of stealth, speed, surprise, and mass that saw a blitz of unchallenged victories. In a period of a few years, Sauron destroyed nearly 1,600 years of elf and dwarf labours with the defeat of the forces of Elrond Half-Elven and Celebrimbor, the extermination of Eriador, Ostinithil, Khazad-dûm in Moria, the seizing of the lesser elvish rings, and 9 of the great rings of power, later given to men. Per secundum Tolkien, Sauron's war against the Eldar was so effectively waged that it is almost certain the fallen Maiar would have besieged Lindon, cast down High King Gil-galad in combat, just as he smote Celebrimbor, and seized the entire realm, and at least 2 of the elvish great rings, Narya, the red ring, the ring of fire, and Vilya, the blue ring, the ring of air. With this accomplished, Sauron would have been able to finally turn to siege, surround, and starve Elrond at Imladris into complete submission and death. With no force to oppose him, Sauron would have marched back east to Lothlorien and fallen upon it in wrath from all sides. Upon his victory, all remaining elf folk would have been slain, enslaved, and tortured. The males would have been dismembered by the hard-hearted, pitiless orcs who would have drank the blood of their victims. The female elves would be turned over to the profane lust of Sauron's minions and ravaged utterly. Any she-elves who survived would have become orc breeding tools to replenish the losses of Sauron's forces. Over and over again, the firstborn daughters of the One would be penetrated until there was nothing left of their bodies but to perish in blood and bondage to the foul black hands of the orcs. Without question, this rape of the fair she-elves would have been one of the greatest crimes and tragedies of all the ages of Middle-earth, and perhaps, as in the First Age, would have roused the wrath of the Valar to arms once more. Sauron would have ordered Keleborn tortured before his wife, Galadriel, and their children, then hung his mutilated carcass as both trophy and banner behind his dark throne in Mordor. And Galadriel, O fair Galadriel, Lady of Light, too valuable to destroy, would have become the concubine slave of Sauron, chained to his presence, broken and abused, until she all but ceased to have any light or life in her, would slay herself, or worse. Her will would have consented to be the corrupted consort of the new master of Middle-earth. But this was not to be, for aid did come in the Eldar's dire hour, as King Gil-galad had begged to King Tarman-Eldor over 800 years earlier. The powerful armada and naval forces of the Edain of the Kingdom of Numenor rose like a mighty wave and crashed over the forces of Sauron and his minions, driving them east to Mordor, relieving their elder allies, and turning the tide of doom. This incredible story and the significant power of its depth is now lost forever. The Rings of Power show heresy is like an impotent lover who is physically unable to consummate a union. Compare this brilliance of Professor Tolkien to the pathetic, polluted, prideful pontifications of the Rings of Power show heresy, which, for all of its money and promotion, could not have 1 ounce of orthodoxy relative to J.R.R. Tolkien. Compare the real, earned, and academic acclaim of the Oxford professorship of J.R.R. Tolkien to the self-declared and disingenuous Rings of Power show advocate Corey Olsen, who had the audacity once to declare himself the Tolkien professor. There is no comparison, for all that glitters is not gold, as a wise wizard once spake. Tragically, in its second season, the Rings of Power show appears to continue the bastardization, every tale of the Second Age, with every genre of fantasy typology spewing forth half-breed storytelling. Whether this was crafted intentionally or incompetently, what is being done to Tolkien's legendarium is almost as tragic as if Sauron had won the war against the elves. Or, to put it more bluntly, what the Rings of Power show heresy does to the literary legacy of Professor Tolkien is in principle and in spiritus akin to what the Third Reich did to the timeless art treasures of Europe during the Second World War, a crime against the soul of a civilization. If you have yet to review our previous videos concerning the first and second periods of the Second Age, covering years 1 through 1199, we encourage thee to do so. Now the continuation of the Veranda Orthodox Tolkien timeline of the Second Age of Middle-earth. The third period of the Second Age, Rings, War, and the extermination of Eriador, 1200 through 1799. Year 1200, Sauron endeavors to seduce the Eldar. Gil-galad refuses to treat with him, but the smiths of Eregion are won. The Numenorians begin to make permanent havens. Year 1500, the elven smiths, instructed by Sauron, reach the height of their skill. They begin the forging of the Rings of Power. Year 1600, Sauron forges the One Ring in Orodruin. Year 1693, War of the Elves, and Sauron begins. The three rings are hidden. Exsurge Tolkien, Secundum Tolkien, counter the Rings of Power heresy aeternum. This concept is copyrighted 2024 by Novus Renaissance, the home of the supernatural fantasy series Dor Var Dor and its lost legends and sagas of pre-flood Earth. Come and join us on an epic adventure and discover our books, music, merch, and the inspiration of your imagination.